back with some different advice. One of my clients and friends was asking me what I knew about lupus and any kind of help for her friend or relative that was talking about not being able to work out very well because afterwards she would have a flare-up. So when it comes to a lot of your autoimmune conditions, it's a matter of we have our cleanup crew that's supposed to clean up the waste, and sometimes it's just either we make too much waste per cleanup crew, or cleanup crew just isn't able to keep up with it. And so we end up with an inflammatory response, just a systemic inflammatory response because our body's overreacting to all the stuff that's supposed to clean up. So one of the things that I suggest for anybody who has recently been diagnosed with any kind of autoimmune anything is figure out what kind of foods are kind of highlighting it, which ones are flaring it up. A great way to start, or a great place to start is the Eat Right for Your Type. So this is a blood type diet. This was written back in the day, and they've since kind of tweaked some things. They have a website, and it's drdaudemo.com, and it's like Dad-amo is how I remember how to spell it. And it deals with each blood type being hand-tailored for a certain diet. So figuring out what your blood type is, and then figure out just as a guideline of which foods you should kind of avoid through the blood type diet. For example, I'm an A, and as an A, I'm supposed to kind of avoid all the nightshades, so tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplants, that kind of stuff, black tea, and when I started that diet, everything felt better. My skin improved, my digestion improved, my energy improved, and it wasn't until years later reintroducing something, like I remember the black tea was one that, halfway through the glass, every joint in my hand started hurting, and I realized for me it's an inflammatory. So it's not an end-all be-all, but it is a good starting point as far as trying to see what kind of foods may flare things up. Definitely check on your sugars, anything artificial sweeteners. MSG can be a real big one for people that have autoimmune conditions that can flare things up. So trying to keep it as natural as possible. Gluten, of course, is one that can kind of flare things up for some people. So figuring out what it is dietary wise. I adhered to something called the GAPS diet, which stands for the Gut and Psychology Syndrome. I don't have that book with me. Written by Natasha Campbell McBride. For me, it was an absolute game changer. For about 2 years, it really sucked. I mean, I was pretty much surviving on eggs, nuts, and meat, trying to figure things out. But the whole point of it is to rebuild your gut flora and kind of mend your gut lining so that you can handle foods again. And pretty much I can eat almost anything. Velveeta, I don't know, that stuff's evil. There's something in there that I react to. Other than that, though, I've been able to reintroduce all foods back to my world, which was pretty amazing. So if you wanted to check that out, it's called the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, or the GAPS diet, and there's a whole web, as far as like resource on that. They're finding that a lot of people that have a lot of your autoimmune conditions are also deficient in magnesium. And I'm going to speak a lot about magnesium on a regular basis. It's one of those things that your body needs. Your body requires magnesium for 300 biochemical functions, one of which is to cope with stress. Well, if you've got an autoimmune condition, your body's under constant attack. I mean, it's just overworking all the time. So you're going to fly through more magnesium than somebody that's like got a chill life living on a beach somewhere. So I used to highly encourage the Natural Calm, and it's pretty good. It's really easy to get a hold of. But it's a mag citrate, which can be harder to absorb than like your ionic magnesium. This is the stuff that I encourage now. It doesn't taste as good. If you have a hard time palating different tastes, this one comes in different flavors and it's not so bad. It's a powder and you have to kind of let it dissolve real well. This stuff, to me, if I put it like in a shot glass of water, it tastes kind of like a real potent metallic-y kind of flavor. I've had people tell me that if they dilute it enough, they really don't notice it. So as far as the nutritional size, they tell you 1/4 teaspoon. You take it to bowel tolerance. One of the signs that you're deficient in magnesium is you don't have enough, or that you tend to be constipated. So if you have too much, you're going to have the opposite problem. So you just kind of slowly increase it. You start with like 1/4 teaspoon before you go to bed, Next night, go up to a half a teaspoon and kind of slowly increase it till your stool gets a little soft, and then back off to the previous dosage. And for anybody who's dealing with this kind of chronic inflammatory issue, trying to get a good natural anti-inflammatory, the turmeric is one of them. I forgot to grab my serapeptase. So the turmeric is, you also see it referred to as curcumin, and curcumin is the part of the turmeric that makes it as an anti-inflammatory. But the turmeric itself has anti-inflammatory properties. I've tried really expensive brands, and I've tried your kind of generic brands, and honestly, I think, in my own personal opinion, they've all reacted just as beneficial for me. And thank you. So the serapeptase has been one of those. So this kind of helps prevent the inflammatory response from going so haywire, whereas this addresses inflammation that's already there. So it's a proteolytic enzyme, which means it's an enzyme that breaks down proteins, and it breaks down unneeded proteins. It doesn't break down anything essential. So they originally found it in the intestines of a silkworm. The silkworm makes it so it gets out of his cocoon. So and silk is a really strong protein. So you take it internally, and your body just kind of cleans up shop to, getting rid of stuff that you don't need. If it wasn't for this and the duo of the two, guarantee I'd have carpal tunnel syndrome by now. I was already, waking up with things hurting pretty badly, but then I kind of started upping this. I can make a lot of testimonies on this stuff. Personally, as far as having adhesions, things, abdominal adhesions, things like that, it's a really good product. So, whenever you have any kind of autoimmune condition where your body tends to overreact to waste or can't fight it real well, great habit to get into after working out. A, ease into it, listen to your body. B, take an Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts are just magnesium. I think it's magnesium sulfite. And I've heard it said that for the Epsom salts, you want to do 1 cup of salt per 100 pound a person, soak for at least a half an hour. Don't be surprised if at the 20-minute mark you start to sweat. It's just a detoxing thing that we do sometimes. But just that right there is going to give your body what it needs to kind of recover. And even though with almost anyone else, I tell you stretch, stretch, stretch. When it comes to the autoimmune conditions, the biggest thing is listen to your body. No two bodies are the same, especially if you have any kind of label like that. It's just make sure that you're respecting your body and not trying to uphold it to the standards that it was able to do before you had the diagnosis. So I hope that helps somebody out there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll do my best to respond. Thanks very much. Have a nice day.